Can you please make sure to be quiet? Guys, please make sure to be quiet. Make sure to be quiet, guys. I got some complaints last time about some of you actually were talking, so make sure tonight for everybody, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, make sure you don't make noise, inshallah, because other students were actually complaining that they were disturbing, you were disturbing them by talking. When some of you were talking, just make sure we're going to be quiet. It's a class, okay? Even during the halaqah, we're supposed to be quiet, inshallah. Also, make sure to renew your intention tonight. Just ask yourself why you're here tonight. You're here for one thing, just to. You're not here for any other reason than just learning something and trying to implement what you learn to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then spread the knowledge that you think it's beneficial to you and others. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina mawlana rasulillah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna sayyidina mawlana Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So tonight is going to be our 10th hadith, inshallah. Make sure if you're not registered to register in the class, and we need to take attendance now. If you can just pass the attendance sheet, guys, and give one to sister. So make sure if you want to register to give yourself your name to Hafiz Abdullah Khawaja always, and people who also help them, We have Sa'd Khan here, for sure. Brother Muhammad Ashfaq, he left today to go back home to his family, and inshallah is going to be back in August. So we're going to be missing him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and give him, inshallah he will have a good trip. Allah give him reward for all his help. He helped us a lot in this class. And guys, your brothers, I keep laughing. Sa'd Ahmed. We've messed up that. Okay? Yes. And what's your name? Ayan Ahmed. Yeah. Okay. Rafi, are you going to do this in English thing? Huh? You're going to do the hadith in English thing? Or you want someone else to do it?
If someone else wants to do it, they can go ahead.
So Abdullah, okay.
Yeah, we do it.
Come up here. So you have that one. I can turn it off if you want. Just take it out. Take it out of this thing. And I'll just turn it off here. Once I'm done, because it's going to make something cool. Okay, الحديث العاشر عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله طيب لا يقبل إلا طيبا وإن الله أمر المؤمنين بما أمر به المرسلين فقال يا أيها الرسل كلوا من الطيبات واعملوا صالحا وقال يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم ثم ذكر الرجل يطيل السفر أشعث أغبر يمد يديه إلى السماء يا رب يا رب It's يا رب قول يا ربي يا رب منادى مفرد يا جماعة هنا سيدي عبد الله That's منادى مضاف عبد الله مضاف إلى عبد الله But Shariar, if your name is Shariar, I say Ya Shariar, Ya Muhammadu, Ya Ahmadu. So he's supposed to say Ya Rabbu, Ya Rabbu. That's Munada Mufrad. Mufrad, just Rabb. Not Rabbil Alameen, different from Rabb. So يمد يديه إلى السماء يا ربي يا ربي or يا رب يا رب. ومطعمه حرام ومشربه حرام وغذي بالحرام فأنا يستجاب لذلك. When they give some explanation of Arabic grammar, and you don't understand it, it's okay. Just make sure to do the tashkil, الضبط. This tashkil is called ضبط, right? So you have two ways to say it, two riwayat. يا رب or يا ربي, both are correct. I prefer يا رب. That's what my sheikh taught me. تفضل يا شيخ. يا حافظ نبي. بسم الله. So we're going to listen to the hadith in English, inshallah now.
Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah the Almighty is pure and accepts only that which is pure. And Allah has indeed ordered the believers with what He ordered the messengers. As He has said, what means, O messengers, eat of the pure foods and perform righteous deeds. And He, the Almighty, has said what means, O you who have Iman, eat of the pure things that we have provided you. Then He, the Prophet ﷺ, mentioned a man on a long journey, disheveled and dusty, who stretches his two hands out to the sky, saying, my Lord, while his food is unlawful, his drink is unlawful, his clothing is unlawful, and he has been nourished from unlawful sources. So how can possibly he be answered? Reported by Muslim.
Barakallahu feek. Jazakallahu khair. Ya Ashtaq, do you know where the remote for this AC is?
Could be in the front.
Could you just find it? Somebody get it.
Yeah.
Sheikh, one question. At the end, does it say يستجاب لذلك?
فأنا يستجاب.
Says what I memorized was فأنا يستجاب لله. Is that also?
Yep, exactly. Two narrations.
Okay.
Yeah, فأنا يستجاب له فأنا يستجاب لله. Two narrations. What else? Let me tell you. So that's the only difference in the narrations. So you have left أكون لذلك. Both are correct. Okay, now yes. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So briefly, this hadith is actually not a difficult hadith. It doesn't have a lot of technical points as we did in the previous hadith. Previous hadith we talked about very important issues. One of them, for example, is going to be in your test, like al-bid'ah, how to define al-bid'ah. That's going to be in your test, guys. That's one thing. That's a huge misunderstanding that students have and youth have. So that's number one. We're going to ask you about bid'ah, innovation in religion. What is the meaning of bid'ah? What is the prohibited bid'ah? And what is the permissible bid'ah, permissible innovation in religion, right? The other points that we discussed that are going to be very important is the idea of the doubtful matters in Sharia. We have what is halal, what is lawful is clear, and what is unlawful is clear. And in the middle we have the gray area. We talked about the gray area before, right? And that is going to be in your test. Some questions are going to be on this particular point. We're going to also ask about ad-deen nasiha, how to give nasiha. What is nasiha to Allah and His Prophet? We said nasiha can be sincerity, it can be perfection, it can be giving advice to Allah, His Prophet, His book, His messengers, and the leaders of the Muslims, and the generality of the Muslims. Leaders are political and religious leaders, as we explained. So these are very important hadith. This one is also important, but it doesn't have technical, difficult issues for you to, to really to worry about. So number one, إِنَّ اللَّهَ طَيِّبٌ. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure. We need to understand that in our Aqidah, we cannot describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we cannot attribute anything to Allah except if He attributes that to Himself, or His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam attributes something to Him in His authentic ahadith. So this is one of them, إِنَّ اللَّهَ طَيِّبٌ. So now we understand here that one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He is pure. He is tayyib. It's always safer to not translate the attributes of Allah word to word. The same thing when it comes to the Quran. As we explained before, some of the most critical ahadith, I don't remember, it was number what? I think it's hadith number 8. Hadith number 8. About was commanded to fight or defend myself against the disbelievers of Mecca. I keep adding words to the hadith, but if you read the literal words that are mentioned in the hadith, you will understand something different, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is this: do not translate Allah's names and attributes word to word, because it's loaded. It's loaded with Arabic language, with the aqidah, parts of your belief, your creed. It's loaded with, why do some people misunderstand Islam or misimplement both? Like you have some of our youth who misimplement Islam already and misrepresent Islam because they translate Islam word to word, and that creates a lot of issues. And some non-Muslims who, some people, non-Muslims would like to learn about Islam, but some non-Muslims, they only approach Islam from the angle of misconceptions. I want to challenge you guys, I want to spread misconceptions. I mean, whatever. It's not going to work, right? Because if I don't know the answer, there are some other people are more educated than me and you who have the answers. So the point I'm trying to make here is this. Do not translate, it's safest way to translate words like these is to say, indeed Allah is tayyib. And then you can explain after, right? So tayyib means He's perfect in His names. He is perfect in His attributes. Because tayyib, if you say pure, what does it mean? Because pure to us humans is that it's against something that's impure. If I have some najasa, something my hand is dirty, that's a khabith or najis. But tahir is that like clean my hand, when I wash my hands, tahir now, it's pure. And there's difference between nadif and tayyib and tahir. You know, guys, please, talking. There's difference between nadif is clean. Tayyib is pure or perfect. And tahir is also pure. So which one is it? Is Allah tahir? Can I say Allah is tahir? Can I say that? Rasulullah did not describe Him as tahir. But the word tahir and the words tayyib are translated the same in English. So when I say tahir, I say pure. The English word for tahir is pure. And the English word for tayyib is also pure. So which one is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So it's safest way for you when you talk about Allah Azza wa Jal is not to translate His names and attributes word to word. Just say them as they are and then explain after. Right? So inna Allah tayyib, indeed Allah is tayyib. What is tayyib? It can be pure, it can be clean, it can be perfect. So no deficiency could possibly be attributed to Him, and this is basically what the meaning of tayyib. So His sharia is perfect, He Himself is perfect, His names are perfect, His attributes are perfect, His commandments, ahkam are perfect, His actions, everything that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if I don't understand, is perfect. That is the meaning of tayyib. So tayyib can be perfect, tayyib can be pure. What do you understand from all this? What is the qa'idah here? Yani? What is the qa'idah? I said this many times, I just did that many times. Do not translate Quran or Sunnah, especially your aqidah, your belief, when it comes to Allah's names and attributes, word to word. Don't do that. It will lead you to misunderstand and misimplement and misrepresent your Islam, and it will lead your enemies who don't like Islam to attack you easily. Because and that's why I always say, you guys, when you go do da'wah to people outside, taking the mushaf, coming to me, Sheikh, I want the mushaf in English, give me the mushaf in English, what do you want to do? I want to give it to non-Muslims, to do da'wah to Islam. And then you go to give them the Quran, and they don't become Muslims, and then you're surprised, oh, they didn't become Muslims. Look how hardened their hearts are. Seriously, what have you done to him? How did you help him in any way other than just to give him a book? And then you expect him to become Muslim because he read the word-to-word translation. It does not convert anybody. And your job is not to convert. We're not here to convert people. If anybody is interested, we're here to discuss things, not to convert people. That's not our goal. You need to understand that. So giving just the Quran is not going to convert people, but opening discussions is going to have some impact on people's hearts. طيب. Allah طيب لا يقبل إلا طيبا. Allah does not accept anything that's not pure. Like what? And Nabi Aslam gave us an example of sadaqah. He said, من تصدق بعدل تمرة من طيب. صحيح البخاري. من تصدق بعدل تمرة من طيب ولا يقبل الله إلا طيبا. Whoever gives in charity the value of a date which he legally earns, min kasbin tayyib, legally earned. I mean, we're going to talk now about two main types of halal or tayyib income, or tayyib earning. So whoever gives in charity the value of a date which he legally earned, and Allah accepts only that which is pure, Nabi Aslam said, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَتَقَبَّلُهَا بِيَمِينِهِ. Allah will receive that charity from you with His right hand. And I made a mistake right now. Can anybody tell me what my mistake is? When I was explaining this hadith right now. I used my hand. I said Allah will receive it with His right hand. Don't do that. When I went down in Egypt, I was explaining one hadith Sahih Muslim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala carries the world in His 5 fingers. 5 fingers. It's mentioned in Sahih Muslim. And then I was saying the first finger He carries the trees, the second finger He carries the earth, the third the heaven, the fourth is the other beings. And I was explaining like that. That's what Allah has. When I finished my khutbah, someone came to me and said, Shaykh, you made a huge mistake in Aqid. I said, what it is? He said, you were using your hands, we were talking about Allah's hands. Allah has hands, but it's not like our hands. He has hearing, but not like our hearing. He's tayyib, but he's not like pure or clean like we are sometimes when we explain or talk about ourselves. Understand what I'm saying? Right? So do not use your hands when you talk about Allah. Allah saying Allah يتقبلها بيمينه because He is not a human being. He does not look like us. He's different from anything you can imagine in His Majesty subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah perceives or He receives your sadaqah if it's from legally earned with his right hand, and then the Prophet said, ثُمَّ يُرَبِّيهَا لَهُ. You know tarbiyah? What is tarbiyah? Tarbiyah is to raise someone, right? So ثُمَّ يُرَبِّيهَا لَهُ كَمَا يُرَبِّي أَحَدُكُمْ فَلُوَّ. And then He will foster the sadaqah for you the way you foster your mare, your little horse. حَتَّى تَصِيرَ مِثْلَ الْجَبَلِ. Until this $1 you give for the sake of Allah with sincerity, it's not halal earning, it's going to be as big as a mountain. But the condition that Rasulullah put here, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is it has to be legally earned. Okay. There are 2 main types of tayyib. Kasb tayyib. Halal or tayyib earnings. The 2 main types are, number 1, look, Muslims care so much about the first type of tayyib earnings or tayyib things in life. Number 1 is a tayyib bi'aynihi. Bi'aynihi means it is tayyib in itself. Like what? Like when you come to eat to food, for example. I'm not allowed to eat pork. I'm not allowed to eat to drink alcohol. There are some haram or unlawful types of food mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah and in Surah Al-An'am for us. If you avoid these types of food, everything else is halal for you. We care so much about halal foods, about the label halal. That's the one type of tayyib. But the second type of tayyib that not all of us care about is at-tayyibu bi-kasbih. So number 1, tayyib bi'aynih. The food itself is halal. Number 2 is tayyibun bi-kasbih. Yes, you care about the label, but maybe you prefer to take cash and you do because you want to cheat your tax return. And that is haram. So that's not legally earned. It's not legally earned. When you cheat your tax return, that's not legally earned. When you don't go to work on time and you leave on time because your supervisor is not there, that's not legally earned. Whatever you make is haram. Disobeying the law is haram because you're here to obey the law of the land. Allah says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَوْفُوا بِالْعُقُودِ. You have a contract. Visitor visa, PR. You have a citizenship. That's your contract. Allah said, أَوْفُوا بِالْعُقُودِ. Honor your obligations. Fulfill your contracts. For Allah's sake, I want you to spread that to people. Allah said the first ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah, O believers, fulfill your contracts and honor your obligations. You follow the law of the land because you agreed to live here under this law. If you don't want to follow the law of the land, go live somewhere else. I'm not picking it up here, right? I don't have the right to do that, of course. But if you don't want to follow the law of the land, if you don't want to follow the law of the class, go somewhere else. Right? That's it. So you agree to live here, you have to follow the law of the land. Same thing when it comes to Muslims. When I go to Saudi Arabia, non-Muslims are not allowed. I'm unhappy. You don't have to be happy. I cannot go to certain countries without a visa, right? You cannot come to Saudi Arabia without these conditions. You have to be a muwahhid first, right? Fine. And then Allah said, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and the Prophet said, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ بِمَا أَمَرَ بِهِ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And Allah now.
Just want the actual translation.
Because it is the means are halal. The means of earning that's halal. Like it's halal in itself, like it's the biha meat, for example, and the way you got it, the means you got it through is halal. That's a kasb. The kasb is earning. Right? So what we care about is what? Halal meat. But I can buy it with haram money. Haram money that I have. That's what I mean. الطيب بكسبه. So الطيب بعينه والطيب بكسبه. Any other questions? When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ بِمَا أَمَرَ بِهِ الْمُرْسَلِينَ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the believers to do what He commanded the messengers to do, that's an honor and a responsibility at the same time. What does that teach us? It teaches us on the day of judgment, yourself and myself and the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the messengers and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and prophets and messengers, and everyone are going to be lining up in the same place before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He's going to ask us the same questions. Muslims, non-Muslims, believers, non-believers, you, Prophet's companions, messengers, everybody's going to be lining up. So where are you from Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu? When you compare yourself, when I compare myself to Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, who am I? Nobody. Literally. Look at the sins that I commit and the sins that Sayyidina Abu Bakr has committed, radiallahu anhu. And me and him are going to be in the same line of the judgment. It's not even that. Me and all prophets and messengers are going to be lining up before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what have you done? You really need to fix something. There's something here that needs to be fixed. Everybody needs to know that he's going to be standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with all prophets and messengers, because Rasulullah here put us, he made us equal. We are commanded to do the same thing that prophets and messengers are commanded to do, which is to eat from halal or legally earned money. Two conditions, guys. I know you know this. I'm not going to explain this point. I'm not going to really elaborate about this point. But the two components of salih, good deeds, to be accepted. What are the two components? It's famous, huh? Sincerity and to be according to the sunnah or the tradition of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, according to the explanation we gave when we talked about innovation in religion. Class? So on the Rasul, then he mentions a man who had 3 reasons for the dua to be accepted. But his dua wasn't accepted after all that. So he had 3 reasons for his dua, his prayers to be accepted, but his prayers are most likely not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Most likely. What are the 3 reasons for the acceptance of dua that you can find in the hadith? Can you point them out?
Travel.
Number 1 is?
Traveling.
So he's a traveler. So number 1, when you are a traveler, Allah accepts your dua. That's one of the reasons for the acceptance of dua. So this man, the Prophet talked about here, he was traveling. What is the second condition?
When it's raining?
Yes, when it's raining, exactly. When it rains, the dua is accepted. But I'm talking about what is mentioned in the hadith. The second reason for the acceptance of prayers, of dua, supplication, mentioned here in the hadith. He is disheveled and dusty. What does that mean? He's poor or he's in need. He's in need and he has focus. He's focused only on the dua. He's disheveled, traveling, and he's dusty, and he just focuses on Allah. The Prophet said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَقْبَلُ الدُّعَاء مِنْ قَلْبٍ غَافِلٍ لَاهٍ. Allah does not accept the dua from a heedless heart, distracted heart. غَافِلٍ لَاهٍ. If you're making dua in Tarawih, for example, and the Imam is saying the dua, and you're saying Ameen, 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 and you don't understand what he's saying, that's a problem in itself. That's the importance of learning Arabic language, for example. Right? So you need to understand the Arabic language to feel the prayers that you're saying. Right? Take your time. Take your time. It's a journey. You can't die without learning Arabic language, but you need to start at least. You know what I'm saying? So number 2 is his focus. Number 1 is traveler. Number two, his focus on the dua. Number 3 is what? And here we're going to discuss something very interesting about when to raise my hands in dua and when not to raise my hands. Because I heard some students were arguing on that. And even one of the students, he said, he came and told me, when we said after the prayer, Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh, Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh, I raised my hand and I mid dua and then I wiped my face. One of my friends came and told me it's a bid'ah. خلاص, أنا هتشل. I'm going to die soon. Everything is bid'ah. discussed before. Why is it bid'ah? You know why we say it's bid'ah? The hadith is weak. Excellent. So if the hadith is weak, does that mean if I act according to the hadith, it's a bid'ah?
No.
A question. Hadith is weak. The hadith that says wipe your face after you make dua is a weak hadith. Agree. If the hadith is weak and they act according to the hadith, is that bid'ah? I want to listen to you guys. The answer is no, because perhaps Rasulullah said it, perhaps he didn't. So if I do it and he actually said it, right, this means it's a sunnah, it's recommended. But if he didn't say it, it will be permissible, because he did not say don't do it. He perhaps said do it. Perhaps he said do it. Or he didn't, because the narration is weak. So if I act according to the narration, it will be recommended, it will be worded, but if it's not authentic, it's permissible.
But scholars says we don't take our religion from weak hadiths.
Who said that? All the imams unanimously agreed on. They said wiping your face after the dua, according to all the madahib, is recommended. Go now look up Dar al-Ifta al-Misri. Look it up. Dar al-Ifta al-Misriya, the ruling of wiping your face after dua. And this is an excellent point. I know it's a side discussion, but it's a great point. I want you to know this point. This is important. So Brother Habib, it's a very good question now. Ask a very good question. He said, scholars said, we do not take our religion from weak ahadith. Does everyone agree on this? So what do you disagree with? Yeah.
You don't say aqidah is based on
Alhamdulillah. Here we go. You don't take your aqidah and you don't take halal and haram from weak ahadith. Al-ahkam. So there are two things that you don't take from weak ahadith. Al-aqidah, your belief, and your halal and haram. Wiping your face is not halal and haram. It's permissible because the hadith recommends something. Now,
So some people like they kiss their thumbs after
okay, there's some.
they like this.
Yes, what?
And then some people say it's a weak hadith, so you can't do this.
Kiss your thumb like that.
No, like this. When they hear the Prophet's name, they do this.
Yeah.
You know, like they do it on their eyes.
Yeah, when I ask, they say,
You guys, inshallah, you know
they
what?
say we do this, we don't have glaucoma, and they say that an hadith on that.
You know what? One thing I like about you, I did this before with grade 11 and grade 8. I told them I really want to have a collection of hadith of grade 8 and a collection of grade 11. Like Sahih Bukhari, we have Sahih grade 8, Sahih grade 11. When we make up religion, it's actually very interesting to listen to what you have to say. Listen, like what is that? Okay, like, why are you doing this? The question is why. Like the question is why. We're gonna analyze this one, but after I answer the question about the weak ahadith. I said before in this masjid that narrating weak ahadith, it has 3 or 4 conditions. Does anybody know them?
Wait, could you repeat the question?
Okay, you only have a weak hadith in our tradition. Number 1, when can I use it? In anything that's not aqidah and is not halal and haram. I can use weak ahadith in fada'il al-a'mal. There's fada'il al-a'mal here, right? Our brothers from the Tabligh Jama'ah, every time they come here, they bring it. And they call it fada'il al-a'mal. Right? This fada'il al-a'mal, fada'il or whatever, we have some brothers who have a lot of issues with that fada'il al-a'mal. Why? Because of what? It has a lot of it's not me, okay? I'm not against fada'il al-a'mal. I like the book, I like the Jama'ah when they come here, the brothers, that group. Absolutely. We do it for Allah's sake, right? But why do we have some people have concerns about this book? Because it contains a lot of weak narrations. But all these weak narrations are not in aqidah, not in belief. They are not in halal and haram, they are in faza'il al-a'mal. Faza'il al-a'mal are what? Virtuous, righteous deeds. More adhkar, more prayers, more akhlaq and manners. So that's fine. Right? So here, we can, please write this down. It's going to be in your test. Anybody have a pen here or pencil? A pen or a pencil, because I'm going to write this down, it's going to be in your test.
I do have a pencil.
Okay. شكرا يا عبد المنعم. That's gonna be in your test, guys. شكرا. Okay, So the question is going to be, when can I use weak ahadith? Answer is in fada'il or fada'il al-a'mal, in righteous deeds. And I cannot use weak ahadith in aqidah, in my belief, in my creed, and in halal and haram, to go fight with people and tell them that is prohibited or that's an obligation on you. You cannot use a weak ahadith. Class? What are the conditions? Please, what are the conditions of narrating weak ahadith? Number one condition. Write this down, guys. It's going to remain with you until you die. Until I die and you die. The first condition of narrating weak ahadith, أَلَّا يَكُونَ شَدِيدَ الضَّعْفِ. The weak hadith is not very weak hadith. The classifications we have very highly authentic, al-Bukhari and Muslim, authentic al-Bukhari or Muslim, and then a little bit Hasan, right? And go to some of the ahadith in the Sunan, Abu Dawud, al-Tirmidhi, and Nasai, al-Majah. And then we have, for example, weak, and then we have very weak, and we have fabricated. So it can be weak, but it cannot be very weak. So number one condition, it's not a very weak hadith. It's weak, but not very weak. أَلَّا يَكُونَ شَدِيدَ الضَّعْفِ. Number two, أَنْ يَنْدَرِجَ تَحْتَ أَصْلٍ عَامٍ. It has to come under a general principle of Sharia. One of the general principles of Sharia. For example, some ahadith are speaking about qiyamul layl, praying at night. And it's a weak hadith. Praying at night is recommended already. When you add another narration which is weak, it doesn't make any difference because it comes under this general principle of qiyamul layl. Number three, أَلَّا يَعْتَقِدَ ثُبُوتَهُ عِنْدَ الْعَمَلِ بِهِ. Very important is that when you act upon a weak hadith, do not think or believe that it is authentic. No, you believe there's a doubt. It might be authentic, it might be not. So if it's authentic, I will take their word, but if it's weak and it's not authentic, it was permissible for me. Because it's not halal and haram. It is virtuous deeds. I'm going to do an extra action. So these are three conditions. So, raising your hands.
What's the second?
Second one? أن يندرج تحت أصل عام.
What's the translation?
It has to come under a general principle of Sharia.
On the test, do we need to know the Arabic of these hadiths?
Know the Arabic of what hadith?
Like the conditions, you said them in Arabic, then define them.
Yeah, it's up to you if you want to. You want me to say them in Arabic again? They are recorded here. But again, number one, ألا يكون شديد الضعف. It cannot be very weak. أن يندرج تحت أصل عام. It can be included under a general principle of Sharia. Number three, ألا يعتقد ثبوته. You don't believe that it's a thabit, it's authentic. عند العمل به. When you act according to it. So there are scholars when they talked about raising your hands in the dua. They said it has three kinds. There are three rules of raising your hands when you do dua. There are three rules in raising your hands when you do dua. The rule number one is it is permissible when you are on the minbar and you make in dua al-istisqa. Remember when I said istisqa before? There's no rain and we need to have rain, so we'll make dua for rain. It's dua for rain, istisqa. We talked about it last time. So you can raise your hands. The khatib, the imam, can raise his hands like that to make dua for water, for rain. But he cannot raise his hands like this in any other dua. So the general ruling is you can raise your hands in your dua at any point. And for the khatib on the minbar, when he makes dua al-istisqa. Class? So number one, the general ruling, raise your hands every time you make dua. After the prayer, you're in your car, it's raining, you're traveling, you can raise your hands. It's permissible at all times.
So for the khatib at the end, when he's making dua,
he doesn't raise his hands. The sunnah is that he doesn't raise his hands. The question here that Abdullah is saying is this: if the khatib on the minbar giving the Friday khutbah and at the end he makes dua, can he raise your hand? The sunnah is not to raise your hands. See what I'm saying? The sunnah is not to raise your hands like that. Okay, what if he raised his hand? Does that nullify his prayer? The Jum'ah is invalid, I have to repeat it? No, that is the main point here. But it is against the sunnah. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't. But it doesn't nullify the prayer. So in Sahih Muslim, now.
What about in witness salah? Does the imam?
You raise your hands.
What about if you're praying behind him? Do you have to raise your hands?
If you want, raise your hands. The general ruling is raise your hands, unless there is an exception. The exception is here. In Sahih Muslim, عن عمارة ابن رؤيبة أنه رأى بشر ابن مروان. Bishr ibn Marwan was giving the khutbah, and Imara ibn Ru'ayba was in the Jum'ah prayer. He was on the minbar, and he was raising his hands, saying the dua. And then he said, قَبَّحَ اللَّهُ هَاتَيْنِ الْيَدَيْنِ. You know, قَبَّحَ اللَّهُ, he made dua against his hands. Like, he made dua against his hands, may Allah make your hands ugly, something like that. Like, قَبَّحَ اللَّهُ هَاتَيْنِ الْيَدَيْنِ. He was making dua against his hands, because he's raising his hands. And then he said, لقد رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما يزيد أن يقول بيديه هكذا وأشار بإصبعه المسبحة. That's called مسبحة right now. Because when in the prayer you say, in the tashahhud you move it, it's called مسبحة. You do tasbih with this one. He said, I saw Rasulullah on the minbar making dua, and he only was pointing his finger to the up like this, to the sky, and making dua. So if you want to make dua at the end of this khutbah, ويشتد في الدعاء, when you make dua about something very serious, you can point your finger up like this. But do not raise your hand unless you're making dua for istisqa.
Is there a specific way to raise your hands?
This is the best way. Yeah.
Is
The
there
best way is, huh?
can we like spread it out?
You could, but this is the best way because you're asking for something. He's gonna put something in your hand. So if you open your hand, it's a scripture, right? It's a metaphor, right? It's not really what that's not what happens, right? Because you're asking for to pass your exams. He's not gonna put it here and then he's gonna hold it. She's gonna write it down for you. So it's a metaphor. It's better to do this, right? So like that. That's clear now. Because that's how you ask for things. You're asking the king, you're asking someone, I want more, right? You go like this. خلاص? So خلاص. And also we cannot raise our du'as, our hands in the du'a between the two sajdas in the prayer. You mean someone, he sat down and he goes like this. No, that's wrong. Rasulullah never did that. Or a dua بعد التشهد الأخير. He's tashahhud and or he was still doing this and he goes like that, right? He doesn't do that. So these are some of the times when you cannot raise your dua, your hands in dua. So number one, the general ruling is raise your hands in dua at any point. It's permissible or recommended. Number two is, it is not allowed when you make dua on the minbar except for istisqa. That's it. So number one was saying permissible, sunnah at rest of the times. If the other thing is permissible. We also need sunnah. قال رسول الله. So this man, he was a traveler. He was in a state of necessity, disheveled and dusty, and extending his hands out to the sky, asking Allah. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ حَيِّيٌّ كَرِيمٌ يَسْتَحْيِي إِذَا رَفَعَ الرَّجُلُ يَدَيْهِ إِلَيْهِ أَنْ يَرُدَّهُمَا صِفْرًا خَائِبَتَيْنِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is modest, again, Hayy and Kareem. You cannot say Hayy, because Hayy can be modest. What is the meaning of Allah is modest? Right? That is another example of one of Allah's names or one of Allah's attributes that you should not translate word to word. Because when a human being is Hayy, has Haya. Haya means what? Modesty or shy. So can I say Allah is shy? No, Allah is Hayy. But what is Hayy? Shy. No, but you cannot say Allah is shy. You get in trouble. So say Inna Allah Hayy and then explain. So the Rasul said Inna Allah is Hayy. You can say modest and generous. He would never turn the hands of a servant without gain when he raises them to him in prayers. And then after all this, there was a traveler, disheveled and dusty, extending his hands to the sky, and after all that, his dua is most likely unaccepted, as Rasulullah indicated sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because his food is unlawful. When you look at people around us, people really don't care about their source of income. They don't care. They don't care about eating haram, they're their kids. They don't go to work on time, they cheat in tax return. I see this all the time, it up all the time because I see it every day. And they justify it for themselves by saying, oh, we live in a Muslim country. Yeah, right. So why do you agree to live here and to obey the law of the land? If police officer stopped you because of speeding, because you went over the speed limit, are you going to tell him, it's okay, you're kafar, why do I have to go over? You going to say that? No, you're not. You're not. If someone from the government officials reached out to you, out to someone who cheats in his tax return, and he tells you, why do you cheat in your tax return? Are you going to tell him because you're kafar in the email, because you're kafar, and you have to follow the law of kafar? Are you going to say that? No, you're not. But you're going to say this to each other. It's not arguing. Some of you are that extreme in their way of thinking, in their hypocrisy. You say to each other in private meetings, no, they're kafar, no. Just give them what they want. Give them what they want. That's called taqiyya. Lying, being two-faced, being a hypocrite. No. You read the law of the land when it comes to Muslims and non-Muslims. But you tell me, and some of them are so clever. They come to people like myself who speak about this openly like this, and they tell each other, when you come to Muhammad, tell them, yes, we obey the law of the land. But with our prayer meetings, they are kuffar and these are hypocrites. Ya subhanallah. Ya subhanallah. Why am I opening that? It's painful to open these files, right? I know. But that's my strategy. Open the files and let people be exposed to their mistakes. Obeying the law of the land is an Islamic obligation. You don't want to obey it, don't live in this land. It's not my right, I don't own the land, right? But I'm saying, logically speaking, you don't want to obey the law of the land, just be sincere, don't be hit up two-faced. So his food is unlawful, his drink, his body is nourished by unlawful things, and his dua is not accepted because of that. Let's see if there's another point here I would like to raise with you guys. There's a good point here is that it's a dislike in Sharia to stay away from halal things without a religious reason. It's a dislike to stay away from halal things in life, pure things in life, without a valid excuse. So al-imtina', staying away from al-tayyibat, al-imtina' an al-tayyibat, staying away from tayyibat, from pure things and good things, لغير سبب شرعي, without a valid excuse, is madmoon. It's disliked in Sharia. Now,
what about the hadith when the Prophet Muhammad he didn't eat locusts, but then he said he wouldn't, it's because he didn't like locusts.
that was the lizard.
It was just
Lizard. That was a lizard, right? That's an excellent. I was going to talk about that. That's an excellent example. What did he say?
He said he wouldn't discourage other people who are doing it, but he didn't like locusts.
But what did he say? He said what? He said لا أحرمه ولا أحلله. He said, I'm not saying it's haram. ولا أكل ولا أحرمه. I'm not saying it's haram, but I'm not going to eat it. In some narrations, he said ليس بأرض قومي. People in my community don't eat this type of meat. Imagine I invite you to dinner to iftar, and then you find the lizard. What are you going to tell me? It's halal. Most likely you're going to eat it. Right? Zebras. Halal or haram to eat? Halal. See, some people's eyes look like teacups. Zebras are halal. Because there is no evidence that says zebras are haram. Imagine I invite you to dinner and you see the zebra. What are you going to do? You're going to stay away from it because you can't eat it. But not because it's haram. So the point is, you don't say it's haram, but because I don't think I want to eat that. So here, the answer to your question is, you don't stay away because it's haram. And that opens another file. What is the khaba'ith in Sharia? What are the impure things in Sharia? What are these impure things? Khabith. You know, tayyib, the opposite of tayyib is khabith. قل لا يستوي الخبيث والطيب. Khabith and tayyib. Allah is tayyib, you need to do tayyib things, pure good things. Allah is tayyib as well. The opposite of khabith. What are the bad things in Sharia? The impure things. These are the only things that the Islam came to make haram, not what you think it's haram because you don't like. Because in this question we said that locust, right? Locust. Did they eat locust in Saudi, right?
What?
In Saudi, for example, they eat locust, right? Yeah. Some people don't like shrimp. I love it. You like shrimp?
Yeah.
You know the Hanafi scholars, they prohibit eating shrimp? Because you know why the Hanafi, you know why the Hanafi school of thought say shrimp is haram to eat?
Any seafood is besides fish, right?
Yeah, and shrimp is seafood.
Yeah,
But the Hanafi says dislike to eat it. Why?
Is it because they go to the
There's
land
no
as well?
records of Sahabas eating it.
Do you think it's just like scorpions?
Did they also say that about crabs and lobsters?
And you know, there are people who do like sushi. Do you guys like sushi? Oh, is that? Huh? You love sushi? Anybody here doesn't like sushi? Yeah. Okay. So sushi is halal, lizard is halal, shrimp is halal, locust is halal. We talked about raising your hands in the prayer. Wiping your face after making dua is unanimously agreed on. It's recommended. Read the fatwa on Dar al-Sahih. Read the fatwa on Dar al-Sahih. Okay, now you want to have some to ask some questions because we have a test inshallah ta'ala. Do you want next class to be revision? Yes. Or you want next to be a test? If you want the next class to be a test, raise your hand. Okay, if you want next class to be a revision, raise your hand. Allah, everybody raise his hand. Okay, awesome. So next class is revision, guys. I wanted to talk to you about how to study, to be honest. But maybe we don't have time for this tonight.
Next week, a lot of people are traveling next week.
Next time, let's move on.
Next Sunday, a lot of people are traveling.
Next weekend? Okay, even if you're traveling, that's considered a revision class. So if we don't even come, if no one comes, it's on you. Is that so hard?
Yeah. Sure. That's good.
So
Justify.
That's good, right?
Because everything's online.
Okay, so I don't know, guys. We'll see, inshallah, how many people are going to be absent next time, and we'll go from there. But I don't want to cancel reading. I don't want to cancel. What is next class? What's the date for that?
July 1st.
It's first. Yeah. I'm not going to be here, actually. I'm going to be on campus. I'm performing the job. My cousin is gone. He's going to get married. So I'm performing that marriage. But, okay, that gives you 2 weeks to study. Okay? Okay, guys, please prepare your questions, right? And jazakallah khair, subhanallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Sisters, any questions from sisters? Yes, here, see? What? The test? Oh, okay. Should we have the test in person or online?
In person.
In person. So you come here and you do a test here?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. If you want the test in person, use your hand. Democracy, mashallah. Okay, this is going to be here. We're going to print out the paper, inshallah, for you. This is going to be easy. You have to define 5 terms. I love terms. I know you hate them, but I love them and you will do that. Ask any high school student here, and they will tell you the 5. The second, from Buddha school. The second is multiple choice, non-multiple choice. True or false?
Yeah.
True or false?
And you correct the false.
The third is what? The third is like define
Long answer, short answer.
like short answer. So number 1 is define 5 terms. Define 5 terms. Number 2, true or false. But if you tell me false, you must mention what's true. Otherwise, you lose the mark. Okay? Number 3, short answer. Question. Okay? جزاك الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت. أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.